Stugotz will be here in a second, and we will make fun of him. I wish the whole game had been that. It would have been more interesting if it had been the last play of Joe Flacco just running around at the 5-yard line, inside his own 5-yard line, looking for a way to throw it behind him.
Nice little cover.
Oh, great cover.
Nice little cover. Skylar Thompson, Dolphin legend?
Skylar Thompson spent that entire game running backwards, throwing it out of bounds, and then just skidding across the turf by his face mask.
Enough. He did what he had to do. All right, gang.
Welcome back, Billy.
Thanks. Skylar did what he needed to do to get the Dolphins in the playoffs, and guess what? We're there. Guess what? They punched their ticket to the dance.
We're
and
dancing.
Who knows what'll happen now? Who knows?
I heard
I've got a pretty good feeling about what's going to happen next.
I heard some insane conversations being had in the bullpen, and that's what the playoffs do. It allows you to entertain the asinine. I'm not even worried about Buffalo, quote, one source said. But the road to the Super Bowl seems tough. Buffalo and Kansas City?
and then Cincinnati?
And you don't know if you can or will or even should play your quarterback, because I'd argue you should not play him. Just the optics of it are terrible. He cannot get enough. You can't let him get a 4th concussion on behalf of that road through the playoffs, where you got to go the Tom Brady road of the Bucs through the playoffs, and you got to beat all the 3 best quarterbacks in the league.
How about if he's cleared to play, he can play, like every other football player that has a weird injury in his back later in the season. Let's not get on our moral high ground here. If he's cleared by doctors, it's okay that he's playing. What are you going to make a stand? If Tua plays, this isn't right. It's an injury. Football injuries happen. If he comes back, it's their only chance. Skylar Thompson is just. Oof.
Chris, I am having flashbacks to Dan having this take and us having this take, and then the Bengals game was just a couple hours later.
This is something that you guys will continue to do, because I see people wearing Dolphin gear outside proudly for the first time since 2016. They're walking the streets because was it a Matt Moore playoff game that they got to last time? Is that who started?
Yeah, why do you guys wheeze into the playoffs with your backup quarterback all
the last
time
a starter played for the Dolphins in the playoffs was Jay Fiedler.
Shut up. You don't even have a team. You can't root for anyone. Like, enough of this. Stop shitting on everyone. You don't have a team. You can't root for it. Enough.
Hold on. I am not shitting on you guys. I just asked a question. I asked 2 questions. Number 1, Skylar Thompson, Dolphin legend. I think that's a fair question to ask. And number 2, what is it with you guys wheezing into the playoffs with your backup quarterbacks? These are not insults. These are, well, one's a fact, and the other one might be a fact, that Dolphin legend Skylar Thompson. And by the way, all my teams are in the playoffs. Every single last one of them.
Same, actually, always. The Dolphins should have just forfeited that game for the betterment of the NFL playoffs. You have your third string starting.
So the Steelers could make the playoffs?
Let Kenny Pickett in. He's a rookie. It's a more exciting story. Their team's been playing better down the stretch. Let the Steelers in. Why do you want to get trampled now in the first round? Let the Steelers get trampled in the first round.
So many questions, Jessa. What are your Bears going to do with the number 1 pick now?
Oh, I don't know, Billy. Whatever they're going to do. You better not screw it up.
You should trade Justin Fields.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think that.
Trade Justin Fields, draft Bryce Young.
Bryce Young just lost money, right, by the Bears getting the first pick.
No, they're going to trade down. They'll trade down, and then they'll get a haul.
They've got 4 months to figure out how to not screw it up. I have medium amounts of faith in them because it's a new front office versus the one that has let me down my whole life. The Bears fan side of me, that is. But I don't know, Billy. I think they're going to hang on to Justin Fields, though, and they should. Justin Fields played well this year when he was healthy and when they were actually trying to win games, and then he kind of sat the rest of the year. He was a little unhealthy at times. The offensive line's not very good there. But they can build around Justin Fields and get really good play. Like, get Will Anderson in the first overall.
Get a haul for Justin
How about
Fields.
Stugotz being right on good losses for Justin Fields?
Great losses.
No, they're not good losses. You have a top draft pick, and that quarterback leads a team to the number 1 pick in the draft. That you do not feel good about that player. What is the history?
Witty. Bears fans are ecstatic about this. Let me just tell you. Bears fans are ecstatic right now. They're like, wow, we have a quarterback and we have the number 1 overall pick.
Wow. But what's the history of a quarterback leading a team to the number 1 pick in the draft and then having a great career after that? Like, it's not a good sign that
I'll
they
get
continue.
back to you in 12 minutes.
that they continually lost game after
Jaguars.
game. They traded for Chase
The
Claypool.
team sucks, though.
I know, but they traded
Trevor
for Chase
Lawrence,
Claypool
Jaguars.
to try and help solve their offense.
Okay, so a
And
quarterback
then he
can
got hurt. So
exactly
He didn't even play.
But Clay, he's not that good anyway. But the point,
yeah,
terrible
that's
trade.
besides the point.
Jesus.
the point
Great
being
for the
that
Steelers, though. My Steelers.
that Justin Fields is good and he can do better with better people around him.
Dan, your thoughts?
The state of Florida, in football, 3 playoff teams, all of them stink.
Capitulate.
The Dolphins
Capitulate,
don't
Dan.
stink. The Dolphins are injured. The
Capitulate,
Dolphins
Dan.
starting quarterback is
Bend the
injured.
knee,
The Dolphins
Dan.
don't stink. I need to point that
Tony,
out.
you're going to take a victory lap on the Jags
No,
are
not
good.
yet. No.
And 3 minutes left in that football game. I can't tell you. I want to say,
little nervous.
I can't say it because I had to endure that Jets-Dolphins game yesterday. And I will never forgive either of those teams for making me watch that. But right before that, the most frustrated I was watching football all weekend was watching your beloved Jacksonville Jags allow Josh Dobbs to get 3.5 yards every time
Josh
he
Dobbs,
needed.
there's something there, by the way.
Every time he needed 3
There's
yards.
something there with
Bad
Josh
for
Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, there's something there.
Something is taking 5 seconds to throw.
The Jaguars, by the way,
QB.
they drafted Trevor Lawrence first overall. His rookie season, Urban Meyer was the coach, played, terribly. This year, he's been playing a lot better down the stretch, minus Saturday night. That was probably his worst game since, I don't even know, probably the beginning of this season or last season. But I think he's shown that he's actually a very good player. They got the first overall pick the following year. They got Travon Walker from Georgia. So I think that is an example, Whittingham, of something that you said, how often does that work out? Guess what? The Jags are in the playoffs. So, I don't know.
Again, all 3 Florida teams are in the playoffs, and I don't want to watch any of them. Marvin Jones was asked about the Jags being broken last year, and his response was, I think one person was broken. It wasn't us.
When they hired Doug Marrone and they're good.
We're sitting here complaining as Dolphin fans. We could be the Lions, the hottest team in the league, out of the playoffs. All right? We're backing into the playoffs, but hey, we're in.
Lions are good. Dan Campbell left a piece of himself on that field. It was the tip of his nose. I was concerned. Were you concerned? I thought it was just going to fall off.
Did he end Aaron Rodgers' career or just his career in Green Bay? There's so much to talk about today, huh, guys?
Aaron Rodgers, look at me, Louis of the year. That performance of I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna find Randall Cobb, get him for the camera so we're walking off together, making it seem like he might retire when like his cap hit if the Packers release him next year is $99 million. There is a 0% chance that Aaron Rodgers is retiring next year. A 0% chance.
marking
Aaron
this.
Rodgers is going to make a show of this. He's going to be like, I'm going to take a second and we're going to think about it and I'm going to try and take the emotion out of it. Give us all this nonsense so we can spend April on the afternoon ESPN shows talking about will Aaron Rodgers come back. I am 100% guaranteeing right now that Aaron Rodgers will be back next year.
No.
He's going to make us think that he's not going to be, but he is going to be back and he just wants the attention.
Until Whitty guaranteed it, I agreed with him. But now that he's guaranteeing it, I don't know about this take. This is not the side I want to be on. You are way too emphatic about this, Whittingham.
But he doesn't have to work anymore. He's a kept man now. He's dating a billionaire's daughter. Like, this is incredible. What a time.
He gave all of the words that would make it seem like he is going to leave.
That's
But-
what he does. Don't do. Come on,
Well,
man.
no.
Don't look silly.
It is what he does, and beyond that, that's exactly when guys feel like that. After that crushing of a loss where you could have gone to the playoffs, you could have gone to the playoffs in a game at home, you score 16 points, and in the pregame show, Tony Dungy and Jason Garrett, confusing to me why he's on that show. He was starch dry cleaning as a coach, mediocrity, and he is starch dry cleaning as a broadcaster. But both of them were talking about the disrespect that Aaron Rodgers distributed toward the Detroit Lions when he said earlier this season, you can't lose to that team.
I can't believe we lived long enough to see Aaron Rodgers have a primetime home game to get into the playoffs, and all he had to do was beat the Detroit Lions, and he fell on his face. But you really think that First Take is going to obsess over Aaron Rodgers? He's the 16th rated passer in the NFL right now. That would be like First Take in 1994 obsessing is Boomer Esiason coming back.
Maybe not today. Maybe not today.
Yeah.
But 10 days after the Super Bowl,
Oh, I love it.
when we're in the island, starved for content, when this Justin is doing AFC North predictions in April. Believe me, I've seen that Chiron like a million times sitting here in the studio. I'm telling you, Aaron Rodgers, will he, won't he, is going to be a thing for months.
Then there's the Raiders with Devontae Adams. There's San Francisco that's always out there. Oh.
Got sources. Look out for Tom Brady going to Vegas. I'm just saying. Sauces.
Tom Brady, it would appear, isn't giving any of the words like Aaron Rodgers to indicate that he might be getting out of here. But getting back to the Dolphins, Billy, you have had a rough stretch since you bought your Tua Tagovailoa jersey. And
Debatable.
Yesterday, well, they lost all the games that they played after you bought the jersey.
No, I mean, I bought the jersey after they beat the Ravens. So they did fairly well after I bought the jersey, but they had a stretch. Well, no, which jersey are we talking? No, I bought it. No, guys. I know when I bought the jersey. I went to fanatics.com. Fanatics, if you're listening, I'm for sale. I went to fanatics.com. I used a promo code because they convinced me this is the last time I'll be able to get it at that price. And every day I've been able to get it at that price since. My wife talked me into getting a white jersey in large, which was the wrong color and the wrong size. Yeah, too small for me. Duh. New year, new me, but still wrong size. So I had to then exchange it for an XL, and I got it in the aqua, which was a great choice, I think. So that jersey, they've had a rough stretch since I got that jersey. But the white jersey, they had a great one. Should I exchange? I can't exchange it because it got dirty at Moss because some people with dirty hands got my jersey. So what were we talking about?
What do you want the Dolphins to do?
Win. Duh.
Win.
Why would I want them to lose? What kind of
No,
question
I'm
is that?
asking you
Win it all.
what you want them to do with their quarterback.
I want them to win with their quarterback.
I think you like he's in
Welcome back, Billy.
I mean, he's in the concussion protocol. Presumably, they will be overly careful.
Yeah.
And if he clears it,
Then he plays. What are we doing here?
well, I mean, what we're doing here is worrying about the long-term safety of the quarterback. Potentially the guy that putting on a show.
Oh my God, Chris Cody.
Chris, you
why?
need to calm down, man. Like this is a player who's had 3 brain injuries in 2.5 months.
Well,
potentially 4. Like
Allegedly
let's
it was
make
2 though,
Yeah,
right?
allegedly
like,
2.
I don't know
Legally.
what
Tua.
page we're on.
No.
Chris Cody is doing what a lot of Dolphin fans are doing, which is you pay lip service to caring about the human being in the uniform, and you just want to win next weekend.
No, I'm saying if a doctor clears him, then I'm okay. You're saying, oh my God, like you guys. Oh, so you guys make the decision. If
Well,
the doctor,
the whole problem is that the doctor cleared him to play against Cincinnati, and that's where this whole saga kind of began.
Don't do that to Chris Cody. If the doctors clear his quarterback, he wants his quarterback to play. He has made the playoffs. He wants the best chance he has. It's not being selfish, Chris. You're fine. I'm not saying it's the best decision in the world, but Chris Cody has been waiting for the Dolphins to get to the playoffs, and he wants to have his team to have the best chance to win in Buffalo, and Tua gives him the best chance.
Guys, you're tacking the same part of the fence twice. We did this show. It was right before Cincinnati. I was on your team. I'm keeping my mouth shut because
and then he played
hours later.
And then he played a couple games after that, and everyone was fine with it.
We are a week removed from the renewed perspective of, a player almost died on the field, and you will always end up right back there. And he's not saying anything controversial if the doctor clears him, but I'd be curious what your face would look like if he gets another concussion.
It'll look like it looked when I did that show before the Cincinnati game, and then his fingers got stuck in a weird position, and I felt like an idiot. But that's the moral trade that we make in loving football. And we're just going to rationalize it by saying if a doctor clears him, then they know better than I do, and he's out there, go Fins.
But do you not think the franchise that might potentially give him a long-term extension should make a secondary consideration beyond trying to win a playoff game on Sunday or Saturday as 10.5-point underdogs and say Tua is going? We hope he is our long-term quarterback. Let's have him go 9 months without a brain injury and go again next year and see if maybe we can solve this problem. Like, you do have to make a secondary, longer-term consideration.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't get too attached to.
I agree. I agree. But I don't think that means that like the Dolphins should just toss him in the meat grinder and say, "Well, you're not our long-term answer, therefore we don't care about your brain."
No, if I mean, more so, they should probably sit him. It just seems as though this season's been a really scary experience. If you're a Tua fan, I do think he's going to try everything to play. I forget who it was that that mentioned all the profiles on him throughout college and how he was born for this. I don't think he's going to willingly hang it up, but how can you not be terrified for the young man after watching this season? And there's some people that football is just not made for. He might be one of them.
Let me ask you guys in the audience this question, because the pressures are so enormous. It's not just teammates, cultural, organizational, media. Chris Cody's shouting because the Dolphins haven't been in the playoffs since 2016.
What Chris is saying, though, by the way, is like what any fan base would say of their quarterback and their team if they're in the position that Chris is in. Like the majority of people, like let's say that it was Jets' Bears, and they're like, well, what are you going to do this week? It's like, I would like my better quarterback to play, please.
but let's be clear about this. What Chris Cody is saying has never been controversial. It's only controversial on this one player who we have not seen this precedent at this crossroads. And I would say to you simply that when I'm talking about the pressures, they've gone all in on this season. They traded all the draft picks and Chubb and everything else to be able to win this game in Buffalo, to compete with Buffalo. They got the 4-man pass rush and the secondary to compete with Buffalo.
And you have evidence that you can.
And I will say flatly, given what their playoff road is, and given how fragile their quarterback is, and given that the allegation is that we care about the human being in the uniform, he should not play again this season, period. And I understand why everybody would want him to play. And if you actually care about the human being, I do not throw him on that turf against that defense in that cold and then ask him if by some miracle he wins it to go to Kansas City or go to Cincinnati, the last place that it happened. I don't think that you can do that and call yourself an organization that actually cares about the human being in that uniform. And I'm probably in the minority on that, but I'm not going to forget that 2 weeks ago it was RG3 that was telling me, hey, don't play him again. And it was okay then, but now they're in the playoffs, so all that changes is not his actual brain, the science of the doctors. It's just, they're in the playoffs now. They eked into the playoffs after that game. Jesus Christ, after that game.
Well, they eked in because he's not there. I don't know if there's a right answer to this if the doctors clear him.
Yeah,
I don't.
In fairness to that argument, I mean, you're taking RG3's word over a doctor who's actually analyzing him.
How many times?
I'm not saying he should or shouldn't play. I'm just saying, a doctor shouldn't clear him, but RG3 can say he can't play.
I did ask you for your opinion on this, and your answer was I want the Dolphins to win. So you did answer it. You want the Dolphins to win, and they're not going to win unless he plays. I
don't know. Skylar got him into the playoffs yesterday.
So. You can always go Mike Glennon.
Oh, yeah. Forget about Glennon.
And I'm guessing the Dolphin fan base is screaming at me right now, right? Because the perspective gets lost, even a week removed from a player feeling like he had died on the field, correct? The perspective gets lost. The minute you walk away from what it is that happened, I really don't understand, Stugotz. Everybody in this room was scared after what happened in Cincinnati.
Right.
The next time Tua was in the open field, everybody, you included, claimed how scared you were.
I was.
With Tua running in the open field, and now he's got another concussion because these things get worse as they go on. They're easier to accrue once they go on. His brain is a little mushy, Stugotz, and 9 months off might do him some good.
But I think the perspective has changed. I don't think that's entirely fair because I think, like Dan, in years past, before last week, in years past, I would say, if the doctors clear him, play him. I mean, I don't know if that's the right thing to do anymore. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm just saying I understand where Chris Cody is coming from. And I'm not certain I would have a different take if it was my quarterback and my team. I am thinking about it.
But no fan would, and it is selfish, Stugotz. The fan is inherently selfish. Why would you say that's not selfish? The fan wants what makes the fan feel good. The fan doesn't actually care about the player. Stugotz, you can't disagree with this. If the fan cared about the player, they wouldn't want him to play anymore. If the fan actually cared about the human being in there, they would not want him to throw out, to go out there and possibly suffer yet another concussion.
Yes, that's fair. That's fair. But fans are selfish.
What should we do in the offseason now that this game is obviously an L? So we go after Lamar?
I've got something.
Yeah.
I think the Dolphins should go all in for Lamar Jackson. Period. Pay him whatever he wants. You get him, you get Tyreek Hill, you get Waddle, you get Coach McDaniel. Wow. That's a team.
Well, he may get fired.
Please.
Well, what happened there? There was some. Where did that start? That McDaniel might get fired if they don't win that game. Like, where did that? What that seems like an uncommon stupidity. They're good when their quarterback is healthy, and they're not any good when their quarterback's not healthy.
I mean, okay, if we're gonna have that conversation, all the credit was to McDaniel, not Tua, as to why it is that this offense was working. And then they didn't win a single game with his same schemes with Tua out. So, like, you could say Tua's not good, but, like, the team didn't work without him. It wasn't the scheming that was winning. Now, granted, you're playing with a third-string quarterback because your backup quarterback, I mean, I'm glad that Teddy Bridgewater was down here. He got to play for his hometown team. His injury history was not great, and that should not have been the plan for a backup quarterback. When you have one injury-prone starting quarterback, you can't have an injury-prone backup quarterback, and then have a third-string quarterback that, I mean, we were talking about this. In the preseason, he looked incredible. I thought there was going to be a starting quarterback controversy.
He was the preseason MVP. He
incredible.
Was. Yeah.
Now,
he was amazing.
Yeah. When
It's
the
almost
rubber
like
hit
it
the
means
road,
nothing
though.
preseason.
Almost. They should take that more seriously. We'll talk about that another time. So what do you do in the offseason? Who do they go after? Who do they target?
Billy, it also doesn't help McDaniel's case that his mentor, Shanahan, wins with any quarterback. He wins with any single quarterback, and then McDaniel gets, his second and third string quarterback can't win a game.
Stugotz, how about this, though? You saw what the Jets and Dolphins look like with their third string quarterback. Look at what the 49ers look like with their third string quarterback.
I would say the bigger disparity is what the two teams look like with their first string quarterback. Trey Lance was not very good. Oddly enough, like Kyle Shanahan is at his best when you tie an arm behind his back. Oddly enough, he's the one who makes CJ Beathard look good for like 2 quarters on a Monday Night Football game that nobody wants to watch.
Joe Flacco is 3-17 in his last 20 games.
Yeah,
and
cool.
And in a third of them, he hasn't thrown a touchdown pass. One of those 3 of the 3-17 in his last 20 is that Browns win that was a total fluke.
He almost eked one out yesterday, Dano.
he almost did. How frustrated. Can we talk for a second? We were in the middle of a parade. We were at King Mango. We were at the King Mango Fest.
We were in a parade yesterday?
Well, you weren't. But we were, Whittingham was driving, and we were watching the game as his phone buffered. And I was made sad by the number of times Chris Cody came over asking for something, and it was 3-3. He's asking for an update, and we're like, it's 6-6. No, this is like a soccer game. They can only score with their feet. Nobody's going to score a touchdown. And I told both Whittingham and Chris Cody, I've got to be honest here, I'm happier when the Dolphins are on defense. I do not want the ball inside the 20-yard line. I want them to have the ball inside their 20-yard line.
When the Dolphins had the ball inside their 20-yard line, I was like, just get into punting range. Like, not into field goal range. Just get into, like, let's pin them inside the 20 range and we're good.
A moment to acknowledge Jason Sanders, who everybody was worried about all season long. Guts. God.
That was a stunner.
Enough of him.
Wait, he's 1 of 5 from 50 yards all season and then drills the biggest kick of the season?
You had no
faith. That was
faith.
incredible.
You had no faith
none.
in that spot, right?
Absolutely none.
That whole thing should have been locked up earlier in the season if it wasn't for him. He's missed way too many kicks. Way too many
They
kicks.
really put up the stat an awful lot of Mike McDaniel has not won a challenge this season.
That's amazing. Like, seriously, it's the stat of the year.
No, he got one yesterday. It was
I
incredible.
know, but the fact that it took him to the last regular season game to win a challenge is amazing to me. Smart guy. I mean,
how do you feel about how the play that ended your Jet season?
Oh, I don't care about them anymore. I'm tired of them. I mean, Joe Flacco was playing quarterback for me yesterday. It's such an embarrassment. I got to tell you, Dan, they should fire Robert Saleh.
Oh, no.
Well, that's what that was. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah.
That was a conversation. What do you mean, yeah? Do you even know where I'm going?
No idea.
Yeah, that was
Just supporting you.
That was an interview after the game with McDaniel, right?
Yeah.
That was a coordinator interview after the game for Saleh. Like, he was thinking, like, you know what? Make stuff happen here.
Dan, I think the Jets have enough talent where someone like Sean Payton, like Jim Harbaugh, they might be attracted. I can't believe I'm saying this.
Well, you said
to the New York Jets.
You said a few weeks ago you wanted Flacco to be your quarterback. Like,
desperate times. I mean,
but look at what it.
Have you seen my other quarterbacks?
Look at what it looks like when he actually plays. How have the Dolphins had much more frustration than Flacco rolling out in his own end zone and completing a pass?
He made some throws in that game.
He can
It was
still
weird.
sling it.
I can see why people still want him to play.
No.
There were a couple throws that it was Mahomes like. It was bizarre.
Yeah, it was weird.
I'm telling you. I sound insane, but you guys were watching on an iPhone that was buffering throughout the streets. I sat there, watched every second of that game. Flacco made some throws.
When the ball ends up back in his hand on that final play, that can't be what he expected.
How about the Patriots missing the playoffs because of the Mac Jones trampled over by Chandler Jones play?
Which, by the way, was the vibes that I had when Joe Flacco had the ball and there was nobody behind him. I was terrified for Joe Flacco for about 0.8 of a second. When he gets the lateral all the way back at the end of that play, he's at his own 11-yard line. He's like, shit, there's nobody behind me. And that's why the safety happened, is because Joe Flacco just panicked.
You guys mentioned that the Jets were plus 3.5, and the game was at 3 and seemed inevitable that it would be decided by 3. But I was legitimately confused at the end of the game because I saw the referee put up the safety sign, but they didn't change the graphic and they went off the air with the score 9-6. And so
Cliffhanger.
I did not know what
Oh, to be in a sports book.
I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the screen, and I'm like, I saw the ref do safety, but I'm now trusting the.
Put it on the scoreboard.
I'm trusting the graphics people.
They go back to Kurt Menefee in LA, and it says Dolphins 9, Jets 6. I'm like, so did they cover or not? It wasn't until like 20 minutes later when I looked at my app that I realized that, oh no, that safety did count.
But I'm sitting there, right? I'm looking at my phone, and the phone doesn't have the immediate information either, and it says touchback. And I'm like, what do you mean touchback? They can't just keep throwing the ball backwards and then throw it out of the end zone, and that's a touchback. Is there some rule at the end of the game that I don't know about? Like, what do you mean touchback? I saw that referee doing the safety sign. But they went off and they didn't say anything, and there's so many people who are only watching that game at that point for that reason.
I was only watching it because the result determined if the Steelers were going to make the playoffs or not. And what a freaking depressing game to have to watch to determine if the team that I like is going to make it in.
It's fun. You know, I'm gonna like be on behalf of a fan, and you're just trying to grind it out with your third string quarterback. You have no expectations for style points. You know that on every 3rd and 7, Skylar Thompson will be running for his life. And that he very duly did. However, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for
grinding it out.
Just grinding it out. Because like
Why did you
grinder.
sound like Dr. Seuss for a second?
Because like you just
You've been yearning for good offense. You said you'd rather have good
but
offense
you
and
throw,
lose.
You throw it out. You throw it out the window for 3 hours when
right.
it's your third string quarterback.
Good.
When it's your third string quarterback and you're just trying to make it in. And by the way, the number of people that were going, oh no, I'd rather not make it in and get humiliated by Buffalo. So losing 6 in a row to go from 8-3 to out of the playoffs was better. No, you want to be there. Yeah. You want to be in the. You do not want to have this embarrassing season. I did not want to have the fire Mike McDaniel conversation for losing 6 games in a row to close the season. I want him to be the Dolphins head coach. I think he's very good at his job. I'm glad that the Dolphins grinded one out yesterday.
To Whitty's point, that was classic December winter grind out football without the hubbub of the snow.
Yeah. It was 81 degrees outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Not a cloud in the sky.
It was like the opposite of last year's Dolphins team, though, which started 1-7, and then they won, was it 8 in a row at the end of the year to make the playoffs? And then this team, the complete opposite. Well, they didn't make the playoffs last year.
They did not.
But they were in the scenario where they could have if I think like they needed someone else to lose the last weekend.
I found myself yesterday watching the game and saying, just snap it to Hill or Waddle. Let's cut out the middleman. Just throw it to Hill or
Just
Waddle.
get the ball right to them.
With a running back or
They should have played center.
Just somebody. Just let them.
Don't give Buffalo any insight into what Mike McDaniel might do. I think the line is what, 10.5, according to our friends at DraftKings. The line would kind of suggest that Tua's not going to be in there because I saw somewhere that if Tua was going to be the starter, the line might be somewhere near 7. And so I don't anticipate a 3.5 point tumble on this line, but we'll see.
I don't feel, and it's fairly amazing given that I've been saying all season, how is everybody 7-10, 8-9, 9-8? the Bills had a season, they should not have to play a game. Like, they should not have to play next week. I don't know what Brandon Staley was doing yesterday with the Chargers locking up a 5 seed and playing his starters when you can get your guys a week of rest, which seems really valuable.
He was being Brandon Staley.
Are we still sure he's a genius?
I don't know what that was yesterday. I don't even know how you'd explain the idea. Mike Williams ends up getting carted off, but he was playing Justin Herbert deep into the game. And I'm like, what do you, a bye week? A bye week is so valuable this time of year. It's why Tom Brady and Belichick were always in the Super Bowl, because they only had to play 2 playoffs games. They always had a bye week.
But it's why Tom Coughlin and the Giants always beat him. I mean, ask Tom Coughlin about resting your starters headed into the playoffs. He won't do it. That's how you win a Super Bowl, Dano. I mean,
Unpopular opinion.
Why?
I like the old NFL playoff format better. I like 2 teams having a bye. I know there were fewer games, but I like that better. I prefer it that way. I haven't warmed up to this new system yet. There's too many games next weekend, too.
I'm a big fan of more games to bet on. Gonna push back on that.
I disagree. And I also don't
More
like the
games are
17th
better.
game of the season. I hate it. I really do.
I love more football.
This should have been wild card weekend. I like
But
football.
now we have super wild card
Super
weekend.
wild card
What's
weekend.
better than that?
I'm
I
going
mean,
to
super
Vegas
duper
this
wild card
weekend.
And in
weekend?
5 years,
boy.
in
Yeah.
5 years, it's going to be
Oh,
super
my
duper wild
God.
card weekend, and there's going to be 10
Don't tease me with a good time. Jeez.
and no one gets a bye, and it's going to be ridiculous. I liked the way things were when I got used to them 3 years ago. Now I don't even know what I'm watching anymore.
Billy, where
Odd
are
numbers
you?
everywhere.
Where are you on? Because I do not want to play this Bills team as someone who has supported the Dolphins all his life. Where are you on the Bills suck and Josh Allen sucks?
Where am I? Yeah, tough place to be. I mean, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place right now, because when they inevitably lose, I can't take a victory lap on them losing like I knew that they would. So, yeah, I'm not going to do it.
But are you scared? Like,
Of them winning?
Do you have,
Absolutely not.
wouldn't you
They're not gonna win the Super
Wouldn't you
Bowl.
prefer to play a different team as a Dolphin fan than the Bills?
I think because they're a division rival, there's just a familiarity with them that I think we have more of a shot of just pull. I'm with you. With the backup quarterback, there's no Dolphins fan that's confident going into Buffalo with Skylar Thompson. Yeah. Like, we can fake it till we make it.
Or
but we're not-
Teddy.
Right,
Again,
or Teddy.
I heard someone that I won't name. I'm not even worried about Buffalo.
Well,
It's the
you know,
road to the Super Bowl going through
people are-
Kansas City
Mike
that I'm worried
Fuentes.
about.
A lot of
Across
people
the
are
hall.
doing things. A lot of people are doing things. My point, I genuinely believe this, though, of just pulling up a crazy upset. I think they're more likely to do that against a Buffalo who they're familiar with than a Kansas City. More likely to just randomly get
or
one.
Cincinnati. Or,
Yeah, because you play them twice a year. So just from that aspect, I actually would disagree with you. I'd rather be going to Buffalo first than Kansas City.
It's a different Cincinnati team, but they were hanging with Cincinnati that game also.
They're going to be, with the backup quarterback, it would be all 3 of those matchups. Like, aren't
Any
looking
team with a
good.
backup quarterback headed into the playoffs, you're not liking your chances, though.
Except the 49ers.
Or Eagles.
Nah, the Eagles, you would not be feeling great about that.
Just saying they won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles.
I don't know how you're supposed to feel today if you're a Dolphin fan about all of it. Short term, long term, all of it. Like, I know, Stugotz, last week
Can we
talked.
have a day? Can we just be happy for a day?
We're one of
that
the
they made
final
playoffs?
14 teams.
They made the playoffs.
today. Have
Mike
a
McDaniel
day.
made the playoffs his first year.
I don't
There's
want you
a-
to feel joy. No. I
Why?
say no.
You can join too.
I
You
say
can have
no.
fun with us.
No.
Mike
no
Tomlin,
joy.
winning season again.
I'm very excited.
Who would
Yep.
have thunk it early in the season that he was going to have yet another
Not
winning
me.
season?
Jess, you had a great year. They
Yeah.
had a winning season. You might
And you
have
have
a
the number one
quarterback,
pick.
and the Bears had the best bad season ever. I mean, aided by the Texans.
I had a
the
great day
greatest
yesterday,
bad
by the
season
way.
ever. Yeah.
Great day, but I don't
Yep.
want any of you to feel like you had a great day. I want you all to feel bad about this Dolphin season because we gassed up the Dolphins so much for the last 5 months.
Yeah.
Starting in like August, maybe even July, and all I heard was how amazing and great the Dolphins were, and it just ground me down. And I just want you all to know that this season was a failure. It was a failure.
Well,
No.
there's lots of
Stugotz
concussions.
and Greg Cody said they're going to win the Super Bowl. They're not going to win the Super Bowl.
Okay,
It's
if you
over.
say
I don't
so.
want you to
I
feel
mean,
any joy.
They're there. They're
You
in the
knocked my
playoffs.
Steelers out of the playoffs. The Steelers should have been in. Screw you.
wonder
Or
where
wait
I
till
don't want
when.
you to
Notre
feel
Dame
any
is so
joy or
weird.
happiness.
It's not a failure. The Dolphin season can't be classified as a failure.
Failure. Stugotz said they were going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't
It's been
happened yet. I
super
don't know.
confusing.
Injury ridden.
It's been super confusing to your point because now you have a different question about quarterback than you did before. Healthy, good, injured, bad. I know, but yes, healthy,
The
good,
49ers had
injured, bad.
Chris is right about that.
Plays were good, doesn't
By the
play
way.
were not so good.
That healthy thing's a little bit of a problem.
But
I got a
what are you
little bit of a
doing?
problem.
No, healthy bad. The final stretch of the season, he was healthy. Healthy bad. Healthy bad. He went up against the Chargers with a depleted secondary.
Above average.
Healthy bad.
Healthy above average.
You said that you weren't worried about them scoring 30 points. They didn't score 30 points
out of
the
bed.
rest of the season.
You're a parrot now. Roll out of bed.
Roll out of bed.
They can roll out of bed and score 30, and they haven't
Healthy
scored
good.
30. Look at the game you watched yesterday. They can roll.
No shot in hell.
You said they could roll out of bed and score 30. I said I'm surprised when they ever have an unsuccessful play. And look at the game we endured.
Remember when they never
yesterday.
punted? That was a time.
The good old days.
We had 2 days. We had 2 days at 8-3 when they never punted. 2 days this entire century to feel good about the Dolphins, and we all got carried away and annoyed. Not only the holy hell. Jessica speaks for the audience on this one. Nobody in our audience that doesn't live in Miami wants to hear another syllable about the Dolphins.
No, it's amazing because you guys talk about the Dolphins and the Panthers and the Marlins and the Hurricanes, and you would think we talk about the Marlins once every 2 years. You'd think I hear so much. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm starting to like these teams. No. You have I thought before I moved to Miami, I'm gonna adopt the Dolphins. I'm gonna become a Dolphins fan. They're gonna be my 7th NFL team. No, you guys have turned me against every single franchise in
You're
South
not on the
Florida
bandwagon?
with your obnoxious takes about all these teams and how good they are. When in reality, irrelevant in South Florida, irrelevant nationally, irrelevant to our audience.
Jeez.
Everyone is rooting for these teams to fail because of all of you and your unrealistic expectations.
Speaking of which, I was surprised yesterday, or Saturday rather. I was surprised, Stugotz, at the vitriol that was being sent at the Kansas City Chiefs because they did that ring around the Rosie huddle, and people were saying a lot of this.
Classless?
This is why I hate
Classless.
them.
Classless. Showing them up. Showing them up is
No.
dumb.
That was so
It is
cute. I
dumb.
thought it was so cute.
It's dumb. What's the schematic advantage? It's just dumb.
Right.
Did you see the linebackers pointing at each other? They had no idea
It's
what was going
the
on.
same thing when people come out of the huddle. It's just dumb. It's just dumb.
Didn't they
If I
score
were-
on the play, but it got taken back for a
It
hold?
was a penalty. They scored the next play.
If I were Josh McDaniels, I would have walked
They
on the
scored on
field
that
and been
play,
Andy
too.
Reid like, what are we doing? You're showing me up like this? It was dumb. Outlaw that
I thought
shit.
it was cute.
Outlaw it.
Little street football, Mike. They drew it
punked
up in the
them.
dirt.
I mean,
There's
I
no
mean,
street
They
that's going on.
punked. They punked Vegas.
For those of you who didn't see the play, what the Chiefs started doing is they just spun around all their offensive linemen, everyone else in the huddle, and then they sprinted to the line after they were doing this ring around the Rosie in the huddle, and they sprinted to the line, and the objective was because I think Mahomes was lined up out wide. And
He was in the backfield. McKinnon was quarterback.
That's right.
quarterback,
That's
yeah.
right. But they lined up in a formation and they did it very quickly. And it was there is no way to prepare for everything that just happened there where they have a second to react to why is Mahomes not going to take the snap here. And then they run the ball or they throw the ball over to Mahomes on the right and he throws it back to McKinnon on the left. And they did score, but it got called
He
back.
threw it to Kadarius Toney, and then it got called back for a hold. But it basically masked the fact that it was a direct snap to Jared McKinnon. I think that was the point of the misdirection. And I heard them say, I think this was on the ESPN Daily, that they were doing it as a joke in practice, and then the offensive coordinator was like, oh, this is kind of cute. Let's do this in a game. So they did it in the game.
Do it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I dare you.
In my football days, you know what that leads to? A late hit on the quarterback, season over.
Billy, I agree with him.
I want to
mean,
hear
I
more
would-
about
I
Billy's
would-
football days.
Yeah, no.
I'm just saying.
You guys are
No,
monsters.
You do that
Golic?
shit? You play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Is all I'm going to say.
I was surprised that the reaction, instead of these guys are having fun, was just jealous hatred sent to a team that has, since Mahomes has been there, I think they've won 64 games, and the next closest team in the division is the Chargers at 43. I think a lot of people don't like them because they win too much.
I mean, what do you think Max Crosby thinks when he sees that? Max Crosby has 2 X's in his first name. Okay? He's tatted up. All right? If I see that,
The two X's are very important.
I
man.
spin Patrick Mahomes around 17 times when I have him in my arms. It's dumb.
Oh, you like spinning around?
That guy's a menace. That guy is so hard to block.
If he were on a better team, he would have been deep boy.
Billy, please tell me more about your football playing days.
We can't. We can't get into it right now, Dan. That's just. It's one of. That's exactly right. Try to do that against Palmer Trinity. See what happens to you, Dan.
See you, Gary.